Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're really taking a magnifying glass to the journey of Nyla and Brody from Heartfelt Harmony.
Mm-hmm.
We got a fantastic stack of sources from you, our listeners, tracing their path, basically Season 1, Episodes 1 through 7.
Yeah, a really rich set of materials.
And the request was clear. Unpack the 7 key challenges that really forged their, well, incredible collaborative spirit and how that set the stage for what looks like a really impactful episode. Episode 8, Ripple Effects Bridging the Divide.
Right, and what's so interesting looking through all this is that it's not just a story about, overcoming obstacles. It's how those obstacles actually became the things that refined their partnerships.
Exactly, like crucibles.
Precisely. It's almost a masterclass in resilience, but also in synergy, how these very different fields, science and law, could unite. It's quite powerful when you break it down.
It really is. And okay, before we really dig into those 7 challenges, let's quickly revisit that cliffhanger we talked about before.
Ah, yes, the data integrity issue.
The pivotal scientific report, foundational to their work, discovered to be missing key data points, maybe even foundational calculations. A huge red flag.
A potentially project-killing moment. Sabotage wasn't off the table.
Right. The sources confirm, though, Nyla and Brody, being Nyla and Brody, they navigated it. They found a way through, allowing their work to progress. It wasn't just a quick fix either.
No, not at all. While the sources don't give us, a minute-by-minute playback of how they solved it, the narrative strongly implies their unique resilience kicked in.
Okay.
What we can infer, looking at their continued success and just the nature of their partnership, is pretty compelling. Nyla, with her scientific rigor and maybe even her network, likely developed something innovative. Perhaps a novel data verification algorithm.
Interesting, like a way to spot tampering.
Exactly. Something sophisticated, maybe capable of detecting subtle alterations, missing sequences in these huge data sets, almost like creating a digital fingerprint for their research, Something nearly impossible to corrupt without leaving a trace.
Okay, so she essentially bids this unbreakable scientific firewall. Then how does Brody, the legal mind, play into that?
Well, that's where the synergy shines. Brody would take that tool, that validated data, and run with it legally. He might have argued successfully for a new kind of legal precedent.
How so?
Maybe allowing for, say, real-time, perhaps even blockchain-verified presentation of scientific data in environmental court cases.
Wow, okay.
So it wasn't just about proving their data was clean in that instance. It was about leveraging that crisis, turning potential sabotage into a breakthrough for legal transparency around scientific evidence, setting a whole new standard.
So the crisis became a catalyst.
Exactly. Driven by that shared passion, that core belief in their mission, it really sets the stage for everything that follows.
A powerful start. So, okay, with that resilience established, how did this unique partnership even begin? Let's go back to the start. What did the sources say about their genesis and those very first hurdles?
Yeah, the origins. What jumps out is how early they had to confront the sheer complexity of bringing these two worlds together, science and law.
Right.
This initial phase, right from their first meeting, it wasn't just about solving one specific problem. It was almost like they were inventing a new way to solve problems.
I like that, inventing a new way. Okay, so the materials paint this picture. Nyla and Brody's journey kicks off at what seems like a fairly standard event, but it was obviously impactful. A community seminar on climate change. You can almost picture it, right? The buzz in the room, the shared worry about the planet. Maybe it was a multi-day thing focused on sustainable urban development, perhaps.
Could be.
Yeah.
The sources emphasize the shared concern. Maybe Nyla was presenting some cutting-edge research, like tidal marsh restoration.
Yeah, and Brody's in the audience, maybe looking for legal angles to protect communities from sea level rise or something.
And it wasn't just a hello, nice to meet you kind of encounter. The sources stress this profound shared passion for creating a better future.
A deeper connection.
Definitely. A deep-seated conviction. It went beyond their professional roles. It was about core values aligning, this unwavering commitment to positive change. That's what immediately set the stage.
That blend of science and law.
Exactly. Nyla, seeing the ecological facts, the hard data. Brody, seeing the paths for justice, for systemic change through law. That common ground, that desire for tangible impact. That was the spark.
So Nyla, The rigorous scientist empirical data, the scientific method, understanding
Right,
ecosystems.
the precision needed, the long-term consequences.
And Brody, the advocate grounded in rights justice, making change happen within our complex, often messy legal system.
hmm
And they saw right away the potential synergy. It wasn't just different perspectives, it was combining toolkits.
Powerful synergy, yeah.
Mm.
They saw that tackling these huge real-world problems needed both.
Hmm.
Nyla could prove the what, the scientific truth. Brody could fight for the so what, the legal action, the policy change.
It wasn't just understanding the science, it was having the legal muscle to do something about it.
Precisely. They recognized almost instantly, it seems, that these complex issues, like climate change, couldn't be solved by one discipline alone. Nyla finds the truth. Brody fights the legal battles based on that truth.
That foresight, that immediate grasp of the complementary power, that's foundational.
Absolutely. It wasn't just theory. It felt like an intuitive click for them.
And they didn't wait long to act. The partnership moved quickly from just talking to doing. Sources point to a specific community project.
All right, the innovative water conservation techniques tailored for arid urban environments.
So hands-on, real-world stuff. Maybe a community facing drought where water is critical.
And this hands-on work was absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
Let's imagine it was designing and maybe implementing a gray water recycling system for a local housing complex.
Okay.
And maybe at the same time, securing the water rights for a community garden nearby.
Mm-hmm.
Through doing that, they started to genuinely understand the specific challenges each other faced.
Learning by doing.
Totally. Nyla, the scientist, maybe realizes her perfect scientific solution, like a new soil remediation technique, is useless if they can't get the land easements or navigate a permit maze.
Ah, the practicalities.
So she starts talking to Brody's team before finalizing her methods, adjusting her research design to fit regulatory realities, making her science actionable.
And Brody, on the flip side, sees the scientific rigor firsthand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He gets why Nyla needs accurate data, control groups, validation. He sees her frustration with messy data points.
Right.
And he realizes, okay, our legal case might be morally right, but without that solid science Nyla provides, it could just fall apart in court. He needs her precision.
So this mutual insight, this growing empathy, it did more than just help the project.
Much more. It fostered a deeper level of empathy and strategic alignment. It cemented their foundation. It wasn't just respect. It was truly walking in each other's professional shoes.
Understanding the daily grind, the different pressures.
Nyla explaining complex science to city council. Brody explaining property law to engineers. They became translators for each other's worlds.
But even then, early on, before they got big, there were bumps, initial setbacks.
Oh, yeah. The sources mention bureaucratic red tape, which is no surprise.
That's classic.
And also managing differing opinions within their nascent teams. That's key. Blending these professional cultures, different priorities, different ways of even defining evidence or success, that creates friction.
You can imagine those early team meetings.
Totally. Nyla's scientists saying, we need 6 more months of data for statistical significance.
While Brody's legal team is like, but the community needs help now. The grant expires.
Exactly. Or just the sheer frustration of trying to get permits for something new, like that water recycling system. 3 different city departments, conflicting forms, maybe one demanding hand delivery in specific color-coded binders across town.
Oh, you're kidding. That level of detail.
Sources hinted at things like that. Those moments test your patience, but they also forge resolve. If you get through it, you learn how to make the process better next time. That early friction can actually build resilience.
And then, amidst all that, something unexpected happens. Their project starts getting attention.
Significant public attention in an unforeseen way.
Yeah, kicked off by a short, raw video clip. Not planned PR, but something authentic that just took off.
Right. Unpolished, authentic. The description is great. Nyla eloquently explaining complex hydrological science in remarkably simple, accessible terms, maybe using props like a jar of dirty water and a filter, showing their tech cleaning a local stream.
Making the science visual, understandable.
And then Brody, right alongside her, outlining the surprising legal loopholes and ingenious strategies they navigated. Maybe holding up a stack of dense regulations, then pointing to one obscure bylaw they used to cut through the red tape.
Showing the practical path through the legal jungle.
Exactly. And this clip, dubbed Water Warriors, Science Meets Justice, just went viral. Millions of views. It served as this powerful beacon of hope.
Why do you think it resonated so much?
Because it showed tangible results. A real partnership overcoming real obstacles. It wasn't just talk, it was action. It demonstrated the power of combining these fields in a way people could immediately grasp.
And this unexpected viral moment, it changed everything.
Oh, yeah. Propelled them onto a much larger, more prominent stage far sooner than either of them could have anticipated. Suddenly, emails flooding in, media calls, maybe national news spots. It solidified their reputation almost overnight.
Okay, let's circle back and really dig into that data integrity crisis we touched on earlier. The sources call it a severe threat. This pivotal scientific report, the foundation of their project, is suddenly found to be missing key data, maybe even calculations.
It's not just an error. The implication was major breach, potentially deliberate sabotage.
Which puts the whole project's integrity, their credibility, everything at risk.
It's a nightmare scenario, especially when your work hinges on scientific trust. How do you possibly recover from that kind of blow?
That's the million-dollar question. And while the sources don't spell out every single step of the fix,
The narrative strongly implies they weathered it. Their story continues, their influence grows. That tells us they found a way, and it likely showcased their unique collaborative strength again.
so thinking about who Nyla and Brody are, their combined skills, how would they realistically tackle something like this? Especially if they suspected foul play.
This is where that blend of science and law becomes, as you said, their shield and sword. For Nyla, the scientist, it demands extraordinary scientific rigor and probably innovation.
Like what?
While she might have had to recollect crucial data, send teams back out, meticulously gather new samples, but more than that, she'd implement an incredibly strict chain of custody.
Documenting everything.
Maybe even developing that real-time, tamper-proof digital log we speculated about earlier. Every step recorded, verified. Then bring in independent statisticians for a blind reanalysis of any existing data.
Covering all bases.
And meticulously reconstruct those foundational calculations, maybe cross-referencing with satellite data, historical records, anything to corroborate. Her goal, proving the data's integrity beyond any doubt, rebuilding that trust, piece by painstaking piece.
Okay, so Nyla's locking down the science. What's Brody doing? He's not just sitting back.
No way. Brody's navigating that complex legal labyrinth. He's managing the fallout, legally protecting their work, and maybe going on the offensive.
How?
He could immediately use legal discovery tools. Think subpoenas for server logs, internal emails, maybe even financial records, trying to find out who did this and why. Looking for hard evidence of misconduct or even fraud. Building a case for sabotage.
So trying to find the source of the breach.
Right. And if that compromise report was already out there, say, submitted to regulators, he might file an emergency motion in court to have it thrown out as unreliable, tainted evidence.
Damage control.
Or, maybe even more strategically, he could present the story of the compromised data to the public and regulators. Frame it not as their failure, but as an attack on their work.
Turning a weakness into a strength.
Potentially. Using it as an argument for greater transparency, for stricter data integrity rules across the board. The aim isn't just fixing the immediate problem, it's neutralizing the damage, keeping their overall mission solid, and ensuring public trust remains. Maybe even enhancing it by showing their commitment to truth.
So it's this multifaceted response. Fix the science, protect legally, maybe even use the attack to advocate for systemic change.
Driven by that shared passion. It cements their reputation for resilience, for integrity. It lets them push forward. They didn't just survive. They turned adversity into an advantage, potentially setting new precedents.
Okay, so they navigate the data crisis, their reputation grows, maybe even gets a boost from that viral moment. But getting bigger means attracting bigger opponents.
Indeed. Stage 3. Huge and concerted opposition from powerful industry stakeholders.
This wasn't just random criticism. This was organized, well-funded pushback.
And the sources are clear. This opposition prioritized short-term financial gain over long-term environmental health. No ambiguity there.
So how did this opposition manifest? What did it look like on the ground?
It sounds like a multi-pronged attack. You've got the heavy-duty lobbying campaigns targeting politicians, pouring money into blocking policies Nyla and Brody were pushing for.
Standard playbook for powerful industry.
Right. Then hiring sophisticated PR firms to run disinformation campaigns, trying to discredit Nyla's science specifically.
How would they do that?
Maybe funding studies designed to produce conflicting results, amplifying fringe scientific voices, creating doubt online, trying to muddy the waters and make the public unsure of who or what to believe. Anything to erode trust in Nyla's findings.
A war of narratives.
Absolutely. And then there's the legal front.
The direct challenges.
Yeah, direct legal challenges designed to drain their time, money, energy, and morale. Not necessarily to win on merit, but to bleed them dry.
SLAPP suits. Strategic lawsuits against public participation.
Sounds very much like it. Imagine facing multiple, maybe frivolous lawsuits at once. Suddenly they're spending all their time and limited funds on legal defense instead of their actual work. It's a war of attrition designed to make them just give up.
That sounds exhausting. Facing that kind of intense, coordinated pressure, how did they respond? Did they just try to fight back on all those fronts?
Well, what's fascinating, according to the sources, is that they showed remarkable resilience, but not necessarily by just digging in and fighting fire with fire.
Okay.
They didn't just tweak their tactics. They undertook a deeper reevaluation of their approach and strategically pivoted.
A pivot. How so?
They chose to return to their roots by directly engaging the community. It was a conscious, strategic shift. They realized maybe they couldn't outspend the lobbyists or win every PR battle.
So they focused on their core strength.
Exactly. They focused on building power from the ground up, empowering local people, and mobilizing grassroots support to break the chain of environmental damage. It's a powerful lesson. When facing entrenched power, sometimes mobilizing the people most affected is your strongest countermove.
Turning the community into allies, into partners.
Into a force the opposition couldn't easily ignore or discredit, they shifted from maybe focusing on top-down policy change to bottom-up movement building.
So how did this returning to their roots actually play out? What did that community engagement look like in practice?
The sources give some great examples. Instead of just formal reports or dense legal briefs, they shifted to really accessible, interactive outreach.
Like what?
They started hosting these science and justice fairs. Picture them in local parks, community centers. Nyla's team sets up hands-on exhibits, maybe a model showing pollution runoff or simple kits for people to test their own water quality, making the science tangible.
Bringing the lab to the people.
Right. And at the same time, Brody's team is there offering free legal clinics, translating complex regulations, explaining people's rights about pollution or land use in plain language.
Empowering people with knowledge.
Exactly. They ran workshops, how to document environmental problems legally, how to organize a local advocacy group. It wasn't just about informing people, it was about mobilizing them.
Creating citizen scientists and advocates.
Hundreds of them, apparently. This built a huge network. They gathered more local data, identified more problems, and crucially, created this groundswell of public support and action that became much harder for the industry lobbyists and PR firms to counter. It directly undermined the opposition's narrative.
Okay, so they successfully pivot, they build this strong community base, they're weathering the opposition. This leads them into a new phase, right? Building bridges, aligning with season 2.
Exactly. And here, they dive even deeper, exploring that intersection of science and law, but now on a much bigger scale.
So expanding their scope, their ambition, not just one community anymore.
Right. They're pushing boundaries, innovating, trying to prove their blended approach can tackle grander challenges, maybe looking at regional issues, influencing state policy.
Setting up a replicable model.
That seems to be the goal. But, of course, scaling up brings its own headaches. The sources mention initial setbacks again, growing pains.
What kind of hurdles this time? Still the external opposition.
That's likely still there, but now they're facing amplified operational challenges. The sources highlight the exasperating frustrations of bureaucratic red tape when trying to implement solutions on a wider scale.
Ah, the bureaucracy scales up too.
Oh yeah, imagine trying to get permits for a project spanning multiple counties, maybe even states. Dealing with state agencies, federal grants, local zoning boards, each with its own rules, its own forms, its own timelines.
A coordination nightmare.
Sources mention one example. A clean energy project delayed almost a year just because 2 federal agencies couldn't agree on who had oversight. That kind of systemic friction, the sheer inertia of large systems, can be just as draining as active opposition.
And it wasn't just external hurdles, right? Scaling up probably meant growing their team, which brings its own issues.
Absolutely. Internal frictions. The outline explicitly mentions differing opinions within their own growing teams.
Why? What were the clashes about?
Varying professional priorities and perspectives. Think about it. Nyla's scientists might insist on, say, 2 more years of data collection for academic rigor on a big restoration project.
Wanting perfect data.
While Brody's legal team, seeing ongoing harm, might push for immediate legal action, like an injunction based on preliminary findings, even if it's not fully peer-reviewed yet.
The classic science versus action tension?
Exactly. Or debates on how to present complex science in court, simplify for the jury and risk losing nuance. or maintain precision and risk being incomprehensible.
These tensions seem inherent when you merge fields like this.
They really are. But the interesting question raised is, how can these tensions, if managed well, actually make the team stronger? They force constant debate, justification, leading to more robust, well-thought-out solutions.
So the sources suggest that it's precisely through these trials that their partnership truly solidifies. How does that work? It sounds counterintuitive.
It's a fascinating dynamic. Their determination to bridge the gap strengthens because these challenges force them to adapt. They have to communicate more effectively.
Can't rely on jargon.
Right. They have to truly explain their reasoning, their constraints to each other and their now larger teams. This builds deeper empathy with each other's perspectives, understanding the pressures each side is under.
And that leads to better solutions.
It pushes them to find creative compromises that respect the integrity of both their fields. Not watering down the science or weakening the legal case, but finding that sweet spot where scientific accuracy meets legal muscle.
Yeah.
That resilience, that commitment forged through navigating bureaucracy and resolving internal debates, that's what led to innovative solutions.
And the sources call these breakthroughs, not just small improvements.
Exactly. New ways of thinking and operating. Maybe Nyla's team develops a novel way to assess cumulative environmental impacts across a whole region.
Okay.
And simultaneously, Brody's team crafts a new legal framework to make that complex science admissible and actionable in court. Maybe even setting a precedent for how ecosystem services are valued legally.
Wow.
Or Brody finds an overlooked loophole in an old law, and Nyla's team rapidly provides the precise data needed to exploit it, winning a long-standing fight unexpectedly.
Real synergy in action.
And these breakthroughs get noticed. They garner attention from local leaders, policymakers. This leads to wider adoption, policy changes, greater resources. It propels their mission from local work to a potential model for systemic change.
Okay, this next challenge feels different, more personal. The sources say their very success, these breakthroughs, led to maybe the biggest test yet.
The ultimate test, perhaps?
Both Nyla and Brody were offered incredible individual career opportunities. Not a punishment, but a consequence of their impact. Yet it threatened the partnership itself.
And these weren't just, minor promotions. For Nyla, it was a groundbreaking research initiative.
The scientific dream job.
Potentially, yeah. Think the pinnacle. Huge resources, maybe a national or global platform, state-of-the-art labs, the chance to dive really deep into those scientific truths, lead a big team, push the boundaries of her field, leave a major scientific legacy, pure research, possibly without the day-to-day legal battles.
A very tempting offer for a dedicated scientist.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And at the same time, Brody gets offered a prestigious position at a prominent law firm.
The parallel peak for him.
Right. Influence, resources far beyond what he likely has now. A team of top lawyers, massive backing. The power to make change through the legal system on a much bigger scale.
Like arguing major cases, influencing precedents.
Exactly. Fighting for environmental justice nationally, maybe even arguing before the Supreme Court, reshaping environmental law itself. A chance to become a real legal heavyweight.
Right.
Solidify his own individual legacy.
Okay, so both get offered these potentially life-altering opportunities, but the catch.
The catch is huge. These offers forced Nyla and Brody to look at their paths and realize they might be diverging. Their individual dreams, their highest professional aspirations, suddenly seemed to pull them in different directions.
This wasn't an external enemy or an internal team squabble. This was about them.
The sources call it the most significant challenge their partnership has ever faced. Because think about how carefully that partnership was built.
Through shared purpose, empathy, overcoming obstacles together.
Right. Their whole identity was about bridging that gap between science and law. That combined approach was their mission.
And now their own personal aspirations, their individual ambitions are putting that shared foundation to the absolute ultimate test.
Can that bond, forged through all those challenges, actually withstand the pull of individual success, realizing their own personal peak potential?
And what happens to the collaboration itself? The very engine of their effectiveness, does it get jeopardized, maybe even destroyed if they go their separate ways?
It's the core conflict. The synergy they built, the thing that made them unique and successful, that's what's on the line. It forces them to ask, what truly matters more? Individual achievement or the power of their combined effort?
It's a classic dilemma, isn't it, when the us becomes so successful that the world starts calling out to the you individually. How do you navigate that without losing what made you strong together?
A really painful tension, potentially. Personal fulfillment versus collective impact.
So how did they resolve this? Season 1, Episode 7, Legacy of Harmony, apparently tackles this head-on. Does the partnership survive?
It does. And the
Yeah.
way they resolve it is, I think, the culmination of their entire journey. The episode shows Nyla and Brody reflect on their journey and the legacy they wish to leave behind.
So deep introspection.
Right, not just a quick chat, but really examining the impact they'd already made together. And this leads them to a powerful resolution. Instead of taking those individual offers,
They found another way.
they launch a comprehensive policy initiative that explicitly combines their work. They essentially institutionalize their collaboration. They work to get sustainable practices codified into law.
Wow. So creating a legal framework based on their combined approach.
Exactly. Think of it like an Environmental Systems Act or something similar. Groundbreaking legislation may be mandating specific scientific standards for development and embedding clear legal pathways for enforcement based on that science. It's designed to outlive them.
So they found a way to integrate their individual goals back into the shared mission.
Precisely. Maintaining that powerful synergy. It wasn't choosing one path over the other, it was synthesizing them, creating something even bigger. They realized their greatest legacy wasn't individual fame, but the enduring impact of their unity.
Recognizing that their partnership had transformed not just their careers, but also the community.
Underscoring the enduring value and success of their unity. They saw that staying together allowed them to build a framework for the future, something that transcended personal achievement.
The episode ends with them looking forward, hopeful and united.
Right, ready to inspire others. They became a living testament that collaboration, built on that foundation of purpose and empathy, can achieve more than individual ambition, even when faced with tempting alternatives. They cemented their role as pioneers of this integrated approach.
And this resolution, creating this codified legal framework, directly sets up Episode 8, Ripple Effects, Bridging the Divide.
Absolutely. Their continued unity and comprehensive policy work naturally leads to exploring the wider impact. How does this new framework play out? How does their integrated approach influence others on an even broader scale? The legacy isn't just what they did, but the model they created and enshrined in law. Those ripples are just beginning to spread.
It's really an incredible arc. Nyla and Brody's journey through these 7 challenges, it's just such a powerful testament to what collaboration can achieve, especially when facing, well, everything, external enemies, internal friction, even that deep personal test of individual ambition versus shared purpose.
They didn't just survive, they thrived. They forged this bond, redefined what's possible when science and law truly work together. They showed that individual drive can actually fuel a greater collective goal.
Creating a legacy that's clearly meant to echo.
Which really brings up an interesting question for you, our listener. Thinking about your own world or fields you follow, where do you see that tension playing out, that push and pull between individual ambition and a shared purpose?
And maybe more importantly, how do you think that tension can be harnessed? Not just navigated, but actually leveraged to create something even bigger, more systemic, instead of letting it pull things apart.
Something to definitely mull over.
Indeed. Something to think about until our next deep dive. Thank you so much for joining us as we explored this intricate tapestry of Nyla and Brody's path towards ripple effects bridging the divide.